Welcome back, football fans, to another episode of the Prediction Show. Tonight we have even more Premier League action. No rest for the wicked or professional footballers, apparently. I've also got some exclusive Champions League news. The markets were released. I've just told you the news, but I'm going to show you how you can get alerts like this direct to you the moment that they land on Pinnacle Bet365, so you can get the best odds, so you can be ahead of the game using sophisticated tools that help you make more money from football. Simple. We connect football and data, but more about that later on because we've got some interesting Premier League games to get through. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here we are then with the Premier League games, and we can see Palace Aston Villa, Wolves Fulham, Brighton Bournemouth and Chelsea Southampton. Now we're going to start with Crystal Palace Aston Villa. Get your comments in to be entered into a draw to win OddAlerts Pro. This is the winner from the previous video, and of course the same applies for this one, and I want your predictions on this game and any of the games in the Premier League. This one because I think it is the toughest to call. Let me know what you think about this as I go through the data now. So the probability model sees this as one of the tightest games this evening. 2.67 for the home win and 2.81 for the away win. With this being basically a coin flip, where is the edge? Where is the value? Let me show you. I've been really impressed with Crystal Palace recently, especially away from home, where they haven't lost in 9 games. And have now kept a clean sheet in 5 consecutive games away from home. That is fantastic in the Premier League. It's actually 6 clean sheets in the last 7. They conceded a single goal to Brighton, and they're in fantastic form away from home. It must be mentioned. I was going to do this. That's not the right thing there, is it? Away from home, home form, they're conceding goals. BTTS in every game since the 9th of November. So that's a market to look out for tonight. And for Aston Villa, it is the complete opposite. Unbeaten at home since the opening day of the season, but away from home, just 1 victory on the road since mid-October. Also just 1 clean sheet away from home during that time, and that was away at Everton, who, have had trouble scoring at times. And it's actually the only clean sheet that they have this season. Now, from the results, we will jump to the head-to-head section because there's some interesting games here. All 3 games in 2024 ended with 3 or more goals, and Aston Villa didn't win a single game. Crystal Palace won 2 out of 3, and there was a draw in the previous game. And just look at that game there from May 2024. Crystal Palace 5, Aston Villa 0. Using the tables section on OddAlerts, we can see that BTTS has landed in 19 out of 27 games for Aston Villa. No team in the Premier League has seen BTTS more than them. Fulham and Chelsea level, incidentally, and Fulham we will take a look at after this game. And another stat that I want to show you, which I thought was very surprising, which we could use tonight in our predictions later in the video. Let's go to goals conceded in the second half. So second half goals conceded, 24 in 27 games. You can see where that puts them, and you can see the teams that have a worse record are all of the teams in the bottom 4. Incidentally, West Ham also on 24. Now, if we look at conceded a second half goals, this is the number of games in which a second half goal was conceded. 18 out of 27. The only teams worse, Ipswich and Leicester. That is really not good for Unai Emery. And that is something he will want to improve. They're not seeing out games. They're not controlling games. Certainly not in the second half. What are your thoughts on this one? Will we see more goals for Crystal Palace as they have done in the recent meetings? Let us all know in the comments. So next up we have Wolves hosting Fulham. And, Wolves are 17th in the league, but they have won 2 of the last 3 games. And with 22 points from 26 games, they are just 1 place above relegation, but it feels like they're safe, or there is a degree of safety that someone who was 17th at this stage of the season wouldn't usually have because of how bad the teams below them are. And I hope that there can be some fight in the teams below them. I hope Ipswich can, have a little bit of a run. But just looking at the squads, I think Wolves will be more than safe come the end of the season. We're going to go again to the table section. OddAlerts users absolutely love this section. It lets you rank all of the teams pretty quickly. We're going to go to over 2.5 goals because we can now instantly see that Wolves have seen it in 19 out of 26 games, and we can just then go and further qualify some of this data and look at the home form and see that 92% of home games have seen 2 or more goals this season. So that is quite interesting. Will this one follow the same trend? Well, let's take a look at Fulham's recent results. Fulham's away form is much better than their home form, and they're actually averaging 2 goals per game across the last 5 away matches. They've also scored in 92% of away games this season, only failing to score in the opening game, so basically all but one of their games. Now, it's a bit of a trend in this video and in the Premier League where we have teams that are doing something like this away from home, and at home 1 victory since the 5th of December. Now, we're going to look at shots for a moment in this game, and we're going to use the results tab here. Now, I've actually found this data from the football form guide, but I'm just showing you on the results tab here. In the last 6 games, Fulham have had more shots than their opponents in every single game. Now, that's impressive for Fulham. They also rank second in the league for total shots across this period with 93. And incidentally, Wolves are not far behind. They have had more shots than their opponent in 4 of the last 6 games, but I think it's more impressive for Wolves given who they've played. They had 17 shots to Liverpool's 10 at Anfield, a very, very good performance that for Wolves, and also 10-9 at home to Arsenal. Very, very good stuff again. And Aston Villa, they had 8-11, so they are still getting in quite a few shots. Despite their league position, they really are playing well in spells of games. And against Liverpool in the second half, they were really, really good. They had good spells, of course, against Arsenal. So this should be a very interesting game against, 2 teams that are shooting for fun at the moment. So from shots to cards, and we are looking at the referee, Peter Banks. In the Premier League, this is just another interesting angle to potentially put onto your selections. He has produced a second half card in every single game he has officiated this season in the Premier League. And also, worth noting for sure, Wolves' opponents have been booked in every single game at Molineux, and Fulham's opponents 92%, so both teams to get a card looks pretty likely. Now, for those shot data points, I use the football form guide tool, which you can use at any time. Go to oddalerts.com/form guide. Link will be in the description. We're looking at the last 6 games here, but as you can see, the data points that you can filter for and rank for is pretty much endless. And we're just going to look here. Teams with most shots on target. We see Wolves, we see Aston Villa. Teams with most shots in the games, we then see Fulham as well. So shots expected in Wolves against Fulham. This is the football form guide. Feel free to check it out. Link in the description. Brighton versus Bournemouth now, a bit of a derby this one. 2 teams in great form, it must be said. Just 2 defeats for both of these teams since early December. And actually, if we look at Bournemouth, they're on a bit of a better run. Just 2 defeats since November, and both of those coming in February. So hopefully they can end February with a victory or avoiding another defeat here at Brighton. We'll take a look at goals now and see that Bournemouth are averaging over 2 goals per game. And actually, in the last 6 games, again using the form guide tool, only Nottingham Forest have scored more goals than Bournemouth. 15 for Forest, 14 for Bournemouth across the last 6 games. And you might think, oh, great, they can score, but can they keep it tight? Can they, not concede that many? Yes. Only Crystal Palace have conceded fewer goals across the last 6 than Bournemouth. 4 for Palace, 5 for Bournemouth. Now, we are going to be again talking about shots here. We'll take a look at the results tab, but just know I found this using the form guide. And we're going to look at total shots here, because Bournemouth are ranking 3rd for total shots across the last 6 games. 91 in their last 6, and Brighton 73. Now, I think that is interesting because both of them have played Southampton. They had 19 shots against Southampton, did Brighton, and 14 for Brighton against Southampton. Now, I mention that because it kind of knocks down that 73 for Brighton. They're not really having that many shots at the moment. It could change tonight, of course, but it's just worth noting that Bournemouth may have more shots in this game than Brighton. And from shots to cards, I need to tell you that Bournemouth have received more cards than any other Premier League team across the last 6. Again, 19 cards. They're in a bit of a league of their own in that regard, to be honest. Will they be as aggressive tonight in what is a derby game? Now, let's put together a selection. You might notice that I've not mentioned the Chelsea game. That is going to be a Discord exclusive. If you are an OddAlerts Pro member and you're not in the Discord, what are you doing? Come and hang out with the rest of the community, sharing their predictions, sharing insights and whatnot. Just join the Discord, click that U button at the top, and then you'll see the Discord link in that page. So Chelsea, Southampton, I'm going to be posting a bet builder for that game in Discord, and maybe I'll take a look at these championship games and the League One games as well. I'm sure there's some value in there, but I just can't cover them all on YouTube. The video is just going to be too long, so that's the reason for that. So the bet builder, the selection on the Premier League games will be from these 3 games here. So it's a double at the moment, and I'm going to add a selection from the Brighton game, but I just wanted to show it you so far. Over 1.5 goals and over 1 card in the second half for the Wolves Fulham game. And then Palace to score in the second half. We saw Villa's defensive record in the second half, didn't we? And of course, 92% of all games so far at Molineux have ended with over 1.5 goals. Now for the final leg, there's a few options here that I'm looking at. BTTS 1.53, a bit low for me. Another one that I'm looking at, where are you? The double chance. Draw or Bournemouth at 1.8 takes this to 4.88. Bournemouth really not losing many games at the moment. Yeah, of course, the red card impacted them in the previous game. Before that, I think the defeat was to Liverpool, wasn't it? So apart from that, they've not lost many games since, what was it, October? So draw or Bournemouth, we saw how many draws Brighton have had at home as well. That's one of the first options. Let me know what you're feeling in the comments. And then another option would be team to get the most and go shots with Bournemouth as well. We saw their data, and that gets it to 6.45. But Brighton have been playing well. They're coming off the back of that Southampton game, which, you know, playing Southampton can give anybody a bit of confidence. But I'm going to go with the shots. I have a lot of faith in Bournemouth. I think they're a fantastic team, and I think they can go there and get a victory against this Brighton team. But it should be a great game. 2 very, very exciting teams, especially at the top end of the pitch. So let's see how this one goes. Let me know what you're feeling for that Bournemouth game, because, as I say, there are potentially a few options you can add. So I'm going to go with Bournemouth to have the most shots. Bournemouth total shots here, you can see the odds are really, really low. So that to me actually says that they're expecting Bournemouth to have a lot of shots, and they're pretty bad as well for Brighton. But Brighton, as we saw, the last 6 games, they rank, I think it's 15th or 16th for total shots. So they're not taking that many shots. They had a lot against Southampton, but so does everybody. So what I'm going to add is team to get the most shots, Bournemouth 6.45. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments. So I'll leave you with the probability model here. We've covered some big games and key trends today, but there's always more data to dive into. If you found this useful, make sure you're subscribed. I do these breakdowns weekly, but actually at the moment there's been more than 1 or 2 videos per week. OddAlerts Pro users will get access to this data and much more. Many professional tools like the trends page, XD data, value betting. There is a lot to go at here. As you can see, I really haven't even scratched the surface with these videos. And yeah, any feedback on the website, any comments, just let me know, and I will see you in the next video.